Hello, welcome to this video. This is part 2 on my series on building a new live set. So in part 1 I just sort of did an overview, my aims and kind of what I wanted to achieve with my new live set, which is going to be a combination of hardware and software using Ableton Live, but hardware, drum pads and that kind of thing. So if you've not watched that, I'd probably go and watch that bit first just so you know what we're talking about, and then come back and watch this one, or just watch this one. I don't mind, whatever you want to do. So what we're going to do with this one, which I thought would be the sensible thing to do first, is to go through how I first of all prepare a track to bring it in to my live set. So this is a recent track of mine. This is an unreleased track. I just finished it a couple of weeks ago. I'm doing this one actually in Live 11, which I just upgraded to this week. I've been using Live 9 for a long time, a little bit of Live 10. I didn't really upgrade to that, but I've gone for the full thing on 11. I thought it was about time I upgraded to 11. Now, what I'm going to do with these is, if you support me on my Patreon, on my tier 2 Patreon, which is it's about £3 a month, $3.50, something like that, I will share on there my live set sort of template, and I'll stick a couple of my tracks in there as well. What I will probably do is I'll do the Live 9 version and the Live 11 version, because obviously if I only do the Live 11 version and you've only got Live 10 or Live 9, it won't work with that. But if I do the Live 9 version and you've got 10 or 11, then it will work with that. Okay, so that's what we'll do. So there'll be a link to my Patreon in the description. Much appreciated if you want to do that, even if you're not bothered about the free stuff. If you just want to do the £1 a month, it all helps support the channel, helps keep it going, and kind of pays for my time for doing all of these tutorials. And yeah, much appreciated. And I use that money just to throw it back into the channel. So yeah, I'm getting quite a lot of nice feedback at the moment on stuff I'm doing. So it's all good. It's nice to know that people are enjoying what I'm doing. They're not the slickest of videos, but hopefully they get the point across. Right. So this could be quite a lengthy video. I will certainly try and chop it up into timestamps, which will be in the description. I may even chop it up into a few different parts, I don't know, but we'll see how long it goes. So first thing we're going to do, so this is the track here. What I've done is, I wouldn't normally do this, but I have actually, for the sake of my CPU, because I'm recording and stuff on OBS at the same time as doing this all on the same computer, I've actually frozen all the tracks and flattened them, so they're all audio, and it's got rid of all the devices just so it will play back a little bit. It's still a little bit glitchy, but it's better than it was. But it is still going through the master. I've got my mastering on the master channel. I use Ozone, pretty much sort of a standard preset that I set up. Let's bring that up over here with various different things in it. About that's irrelevant for this, just because I need it to be on that, because when I export the sections of the track, I want it to be the same as the final release, the mastered track. So that's why I'm leaving the mastering stuff on there. So first thing I would suggest that you do is, let's assume this is your finished project file and this is your final master or whatever, is save it as a different version. And I'm going to save it as, because it's called Flow State, this one, so I'm going to save it as Flow State Live. Okay, nothing to do with Ableton Live, just Flow State that I'm going to play live. Because I made the mistake in the past that I've deleted stuff and chopped stuff up and then realised that I'd stuffed up my original project file. So don't do that. So save a different version. Then it doesn't matter what you do with this, your old one is still there. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to group the tracks into the sections that I have in my live set. So if you've seen part 1, you'll see I have a track for the kick, track for the claps, track for hi-hats, track for the percussion, tracks for the bass, and the tracks for like synth parts, track for lead parts and vocals, and then effects. Now what I'm doing at the moment is I'm using, as part of my live set, at the moment I'm using the Behringer, the RD8, but I have just got something else, a new bit of hardware that I'm going to probably use in my live set now. More on that in future videos. So I'm not going to bother with the kick. So I'm just going to stick this right down the bottom, I think, for now. Oh, and that's a good start. We've got not responding already. Great start. Okay, so we've got the kick at the bottom. Now, I'm not saying this is the best and only way to prepare your stuff for live sets. This is just, I've experimented with different things and I found this works for me. If anyone's got any suggestions throughout any of this series of videos of how I can improve and make life easier and workflow easier, then let me know, because I am definitely one for making stuff complicated. So first channel we need to do then, we're going to ignore the kick, is we want to group together any claps or snare drums. So we've got the main clap is this one. And then we've got this little snare fill. What's that doing? So that's the big build up fill. And then we've got this little tinkly thing going off here. Okay, so I'm going to group all those together to start off with. I may not keep it like that, but just for the purposes of doing this. So we'll group them into, I'm just going to call it the snare and clap, he says, or not. Rename your bugger. Right, so that's my first group. Second group, we've got hi-hats. So we've got two hi-hats. We've got open hi-hat and closed hi-hat. I'm going to group all of these together. So let me just unsolo that for now. I suppose I could do the keyboard shortcut, would be quicker, but there we go. So I was going to call that hats. My third group is percussion, so that's going to be these three are going to have percussion loops and the shaker loop, nothing else down there. Okay, we'll group them. Call that group perk. We've then got bass. I've got two. This is already grouped together actually because I grouped these together. I've got two bass parts, so that's already done, grouped together nicely. Next bit is the synth part. So this is where you've got to sort of start to think about which bits are going to go in which. I mean, effects that are already done, that's going to be a track on its own. So what's the lead part doing? Okay, and then we've got this pad. Okay, and then we've got some vocal. All right, so I'm going to stick effects down the bottom. So we've got vocal. So these are going to go in a track. We'll group them together straight away because one of the tracks I have is kind of lead / vocals. So we'll do that. Okay, I'm just going to group these together and have these as the synth section. I think that's fine because there's not a massive amount in this track. Right, so they are my groups. So I got it down. I get it down to 7 groups. Okay, so we've got hi-hats, snare and clap, percussion, bass, synth, lead and vox, vocals, and effects. So the next bit really is sort of deciding how I'm actually going to perform this live. So is it just going to be launching clips? Is it going to be a bit of knob twiddling? Is it going to be actually playing stuff? And I think with this one I decided, actually looking at the bass, we've got 3 bass tracks, but one of those I was going to play, and I can't remember which one it was. Not that one. Okay, so I think it was this. It's just got like these different bass hits. This. Okay, I've got some automation coming on now. That's why it's quiet. Let's do it from there. Okay, so there's just this like this dun 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 dun. So I just thought, you know, that's nice and easy. Something I can play. I can play that over on the drum pads. Assign that to a pad, and it'll show you how I do that. So let's just deal with that first. So really all I need is the first bit of that because I'm going to just export that as a sample. Let's just get rid of that for now. Let's just see what that sounds like. last one might be the best one actually. If we just played it from there. Yeah, because that's got a bit more of a tail on it. That first one, I don't know though. That might work. Let's just get rid of it from there. Okay, I'll do it. I can always change it later, but I'll do it like that for now. So basically just this bit, and I want it to have any effects and reverb sends and stuff I've got on it. So I'm going to just export this, just that bit there. Got that soloed out, and do it as a WAV file. So we've got some good quality going. And we're going to call that Flowbase Live, and what I have is a folder with all my live stems in. So let's just create a new folder for this because we're going to need that. So yeah, just create a folder with all the different tracks in. These are the ones I've done so far, and we're going to just save that in there, and that's there ready for later on. That's going to come up in another video when we sort that bit out. So let's just give you a quick kind of example of what the song sounds like at the moment. So it starts off with this, and it's going to be proper glitchy, I think.
Drop me, that's the deal.
So we've got this vocal sample, and in fact, okay, so that's basically what it sounds like. It's, yeah. I may actually, thinking about it, have this to trigger live as well.
Drop me, that's the deal.
Yeah, I'm going to do that as well. I'm going to assign that to a drum pad also. So I'm going to do the same thing with that. So I was going to get the, I always do a little bit at the end of this just to make sure I get any reverb tails and stuff going off on there. So we'll do the same thing with that. So it'll give me a little bit more stuff to play. And okay, so they're the two bits I'm going to actually play live. I will obviously also be launching clips and doing things in different orders as I play it live, but that's got that bit out of the way. And if you watch the first part of the video, you'll realise that, you know, the reason I'm doing this is, or the way I'm doing it is just to give me complete flexibility of making my tracks sound different each time. Each time I play them, it's going to be slightly different. And kind of approaching it a bit more from a DJ point of view. So, okay, we don't need any of that for now. I'm just going to deactivate those rather than deleting them or anything. I'm just going to deactivate that vocal. We're going to keep that one in there. Oh, we've got a group within a group there, which is going to confuse my brain. So let's get rid of the group within the group. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing on the bass part that we're going to play live. Wrong group. Is that one, which was that one. Okay, so now when I play the track back, okay, so you can either mute those, deactivate them, or whatever, delete them. It's entirely up to you. But now when I play the track back, and the stuff that I export won't have those bits in there, and I will play those sections live. Right, apologies for just referring to my notes because I've wrote down loads of stuff I wanted to cover in this when I can't remember it if I don't write it down. So next thing, this is when we're going to need a trusty notebook and pen. Let me just get my pen, give me one sec. So this is the kind of long-winded part. Right, let's do it here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the track, we're going to break it up into sections, and we're going to mark down the bar numbers, all of which will make sense when it's all finished. And we're going to kind of break it down into sort of intro, different sections like section A, section B, and look at the bits that we can actually want to use and try and get this down into 8-bar, usually 8-bar loops, sometimes 16-bar loops, but 8-bar loops gives me a lot more flexibility to play live. So I'm going to set the loop brace at 8 bars, and we're going to go through the tracking sections and see what we've got. So this is obviously the intro. So straight away I'm thinking, yes, I can make use of this because this is going to be good for an intro and an outro. I don't necessarily need to do all 8 bars of that, but I will just for ease of keeping everything the same. So we don't need the kick either, so we're going to mute the kick because the kick's going to come in later. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just going to split it up at the moment into sections. Let's just open everything up. So what I'm going to do is going to highlight that, Control or Command E, and that's just going to clip it down, and I'm going to just give this a colour. Okay, so any clips in there will have the same colour. I'm just going to put a marker in there, call that intro. Okay, so then I'm going to go over to my book, I'm going to write down intro is bars 1 to 8. Okay, so let's go through a bit more of the track, see what else we can use. So just whiz that onto the next 8 bars. Okay, it's going to bring the kick back in just so I know what I'm listening to. So really nothing's changing here, so we don't need to use that section. There's nothing else coming in, I don't think. No, so we have a change here at bar 17. Okay, so we've got a big change here, so we definitely want to use this section. So that's bringing in the clap and more hi-hats and this other bass part. Okay, not a lot happening in the next bit of that, so I can use that straight away. So let's do the same thing, just open all that up. So I'm going to call this just A1 for now. Okay, we're going to have different sections. Again, I'm just going to split this just for ease of colour coding everything, because what I'm looking for is sections that are repeated and I can give them the same colour. Alright, so I'm not going to use this section, so I'm going to deactivate that, and we're not going to use this section, so I'm going to deactivate that. So this next section here is this drum fill. So that's obviously a fairly big part of the track. So we're going to call that fill. So that is definitely a part we would want to use. And let's just give that a colour. I'm just going down to random colours. Right, so then next bit of the track. So we're bringing in this other synth part here. Just bring the kick back in for now. Okay. Right. So that's going to work as my next section. So we're going to call that A2. Let's just get rid of the kick again. Again, Control or Command E, just split those tracks just so we can colour them all the same. Let's go yellow with that one, and we're going to call that A2. Okay, so I mean straight away you can see we can sort of jump between the sections. Okay, at least it would do if you could hear what the hell was going off without my computer glitching out. Okay, so I think this next section, there's not a lot changing there. Okay, there's nothing really different in that bit. Okay, so that's fine. I'm going to deactivate that bit just so we're looking at the bits that we're not using. And then okay, we've got the fill again. But we've got the fill with a lot of other stuff going off. This vocal loop coming in. Right, so we're going to want that. We're going to call that fill 2. That's definitely a section it will want. I tried to get it down to as fewer sections as possible. So if we bring the kick back in, what have we got here? So that's basically the same as that, but we've got these vocal sample bits coming in. Okay, so that's another section we will use. Okay, let's split them. Give it another colour. Let's go green. That's fine, and we'll call that A3. Oop. Okay, and I just, yeah, I've got to make sure I don't put the kick in there when I export it, that's fine. Okay, so we've got some percussion stuff coming up here. So we've got 8 bars with this one in, and then we've got this other one here. Okay, so what I'm thinking from a live point of view, I could get away with not having to just have this. I could go straight from this section into both of these percussion sections coming in. So let's split that off, and we'll deactivate those clips, and then we can have this. Now we've got potentially a 16 bar section here. Although I think we've got a break after that. That's fine, so that's just dropping the kick out, so I will be able to do that live. So we'll get rid of that, and we're going to call this A4. I'm supposed to be writing the bar numbers down, but I'll do that in a minute. We'll just split it up like this first. Let's go completely random colour. Right, so there's probably not much else in the song I need to have for playing live. Because it kind of just repeats a lot of the stuff throughout the song. Okay, so we've got this build up here, which is just the synth part, so I could easily do that live. Okay, we've got that fill, so we're going to have that from previous, so I could use that. Okay, so there's a section there I may want to use. That's what I'm going to call sort of a drop. So then it all comes back in again here. Okay, so I'm thinking this bit is going to be pretty much the same as this. There's a slightly different sound in the lead, but not much different. Okay, so I'm going to have this section. And it's really just a case then of going through your tracks. Obviously, everyone's tracks are going to be different. And every track of mine is different, structure is different. It's just the way you do it, however works for you. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm not going to go through the whole track on the video like this. I'll kind of pause the video, and I'm going to go through the rest of the track and just color code everything, so you can sort of see the whole track and see the different sections. Then we'll come back to looking at how we export that. Okay, so I'll do that off camera, and then I'll come back and I'll see you in a second. Okay, so we're back. I've got it sort of trimmed down a bit. You'll see various different colors here. I've got it down to about, at the moment, about 12 sections. I will probably chop it down to a little bit more on that once I get it into my live set. But basically I've got an intro, okay, which obviously we've been through. The reason I call these A1, A2 is often some tracks will have like an A section and a B section, so it's just kind of like the way I do it. So yeah, we've got an intro. We can jump to A1, which is going to bring in those bits. We've got a fill. We've got A2, which is bringing in that kind of like main lead line. So I've got another fill here. So this fill is a bit different to this one, in that it's got some vocal stuff with it. We've got like another section here. Then we've got this which brings in the percussion. And then we've got another section here that's very similar, but the lead line is a little bit more open and it drops out the pad sound. These two I may kind of not use both of these. There's some more conga stuff coming in here. Okay, and then the last fill is slightly different as well. And I'm going to keep this break as well, and the sort of what I call the drop. So this is quite a nice little break thing. And again, that drop there, I may or may not use that, but I want to get as much stuff out of here at this stage as I can. So I'm not going to come back into this project later on. I'll trim it down once I get it in. So basically, what we want to do next job is just write down the bar numbers in the sections. Okay, so we've got intro bar 1 to 8. We've got A1 is 9 to 17. No, it's not. A1 is 17 to 25. This will make sense why we're doing this when I get over into the other thing. 17 to 25. Okay. Oops, sorry. We've got what we're going to call fill is 33 to 41 and so on. Okay, so we'll go through the whole track and do that. I won't do that on camera because it'll be boring. And then we'll do some exporting. So I'm going to just write all these down and then we'll go over to the exporting section. Okay, so I've gone through the whole track and I've just written down the bar numbers of these sections. Okay, so I've got 12 sections, I think. So I know that like A3 now, I can just refer to my notebook. A3 is bar 65 to 73 and so on. That will make sense when we get onto the next bit, as I said before. So the next stage, now we've kind of done all that preparation, is to export the tracks. Now, the reason I go through the sections and color code them and blank stuff out is there are often, this track's not probably as good an example as some of the others, because I may have like section A1 here that repeats down here. So if I know I've got 2 red sections, I only need to use one of them. It's just really a case of splitting your track up and thinking, yeah, you know, I could, if I'm playing live, if I wanted to jump from A2, for example, after 4 bars straight into this drop, I can do. I'm just in case of seeing if that works. Okay, and then I may not play all that whole thing through. I may just jump right to the end bit. Okay, so it's looking at sections that work, and sometimes it's a little bit of a trade-off between, you know, which bits you can use and which bits you can't use. And the whole idea behind this is I'm not playing it live exactly how the studio version was recorded. It's kind of like almost like a live remix as I do it. So this process we've gone through here is pretty much the same. If anybody knows about DJing, it's basically the same process of going through the track and putting your hot cue points in there so you can jump between different sections of the track. So I might start this off and, you know, I think it's great and the audience may not be loving it, and I'm on this section and I'm thinking, okay, there's like 6 minutes of this track left. What do I do? So I can get out of this section. I can just like think, all right, let's just zip to there and build it up and take bits out and just play it basically in any order I want. So that's kind of like the theory behind it. Right, so for now I'm going to make sure I mute the kick. I've got the bits muted that I did previously from what I'm going to play live. It's really then just a case of soloing each of these. We're going to export the whole track. Okay, so we're going to have 7 tracks basically. So it's going to be the whole song, which we're then going to split up when we get it into the live set. So what we're going to do is solo the track. So we're going to solo the hats, and we're going to export that, and we're just going to call it hats. Okay, just so I know what it is, we're going to render that out, and I'm going to do that for each of these tracks. So in that folder I will have a track for hats, a track for snare and clap, track for percussion, track for bass, track for synth, track for lead, and a track for the effects. Okay, so this video is getting quite long. It's I think it's probably going to be around half an hour, if not a bit longer. So what I'll do is I'll do part 2. Is I'll show you how I then bring that, not part 2, part 3 in the next video. I will bring those tracks, stems into the live set, and then show you how I break it up based on all the bar numbers that I've written down. So that's going to come up in the next video, which I'll try and get done as soon as I can so that it follows on from this one. So thanks for watching this one. Hopefully that's not confused the hell out of everybody. You may need to watch it through a few times to sort of get your head around what I'm doing. As the series progresses and I get everything into the live set, it will start to make more sense, honestly. So bear with me. And if anyone's got any suggestions on how to streamline this process, then I'm all ears and listening to that. So yeah, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, share around. Like I say, any questions or comments, stick them in the box below. And yeah, if you want to support me on Patreon, then there are links for that in the description, and you can also there'll be an information card will pop up on screen as well somewhere. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in part 3.